is the time to practice meditation. Establish a comfortable but energized posture. Bringing your attention to the present moment and how you're sitting. Here in Melbourne, it's early morning, so the temperature is cool. The birds are just waking up. The world hasn't fully got into its normal daily activities yet. So the morning is a good time to practice meditation, bring up mindfulness with the breathing. There's less distractions. Other than our own mind, which may start to plan what it wants to do today, what's going to happen. So one aspect of meditation which we can employ to deal with the restless mind is focusing on a wholesome or skillful theme and consciously allowing the mind to think around that theme. If you are already peaceful and mindfulness is firm, well, you can just stay with your normal meditation object, it's the breath, for instance. But as we all know, the mind often doesn't want to stay with a meditation object. It's not interesting enough yet to be with the breath. So we can give it some useful work to do. Pick up a theme to contemplate in a discursive way, recollecting different aspects of that theme of Dhamma as a way to train the mind to use thought skillfully in the present moment, developing mindfulness, but keeping the mind on one wholesome, skillful theme, not allowing it to stray outside of that theme. So one can actually be creative doing this. Use recollections and memory. It's a way of training the mind to abandon unwholesome mental states rooted in greed, anger, delusion, or the 5 hindrances, but not yet bringing the mind to a one-pointed state on a single object. Maybe the mind is not yet ready to settle down. So we skillfully develop a theme for a period of time that seems appropriate. Could be for 15 minutes, even 30 minutes. But the idea is to bring up this theme, recollect it, to energize the mind, stimulate it in a wholesome way. This is using the Sankhara Khanda, the part of the mind that we call mental formations, where one is intentionally thinking about a skillful theme So there is a danger there that it just degenerates into mental proliferation, the aimless wandering mind, linking concepts together, going for a walk, but then getting thoroughly tired and lost. So we don't want that. The aim is to actually consciously come to this theme, return to it over and over again, and develop it with skillful thinking as a way to train the mind. So for instance, one could pick up the theme of Metta, Goodwill. And what do we know about that? A good starting point for any meditation is to think of the Buddha, our teacher. And we may know from the life of the Buddha that he would begin his day surveying the world with an attitude of metta. He was already skilled at it, and it was quite natural for the pure, enlightened mind to have metta and karuna, compassion, for all beings. But still, he would do it as a conscious practice, sending out his mind with that thought of goodwill in all directions. So up, down, in front, behind, to the sides. And bearing in mind that the world we live in is a globe, it's a sphere. If you send your metta downwards, you'll actually come out the other side of the globe with goodwill for whoever's there. Or you send your metta along the surface of the globe. And the way the Buddha practiced, we call it universal loving kindness, or unconditional loving kindness. So without limits, not picking and choosing. So he would radiate this feeling, this thought, with the power of his samadhi. So supercharged metta. But going in all directions to all beings, in all realms. So beings you can see, beings you can't see. Animals, birds, insects, ghosts, even to the hell realms, and to the higher realms, Deva realms, Brahma realms. They say like the sun shining down on the earth. It doesn't choose where it falls, the sunlight. It just enlightens or lightens, brightens the world. In the same way, the Buddha could survey the world with equal loving kindness for all beings. No bias in his mind, because his mind is free from craving and attachment, free from delusion. But part of his task was to survey beings and see whose spiritual faculties were ripe for understanding, penetrating the Dhamma. even though his metta was equal for all beings, it's supported by karuna, mudita, upekkha, and great wisdom. So the Buddha's wisdom could differentiate between people's maturity in their practice. You say the maturity of their spiritual faculties, their indriya, the 5 spiritual faculties, saddha, faith or conviction, viriya, effort, sati, mindfulness, samadhi, stillness of mind, and panya, wisdom. So the Buddha would know that beings are at a different level in their spiritual development. And some are closer to penetrating the Dhamma, and they're ripe for penetrating the Dhamma. So then he may see that there is a particular person or even a group of people who would benefit from hearing the Dhamma. And so his practice of metta might lead him to seek out those people for the day. The way monks seek out people sometimes is walking out on arms round, meeting people, and there may arise a chance for the Buddha to teach, help somebody understand the Dhamma on a deeper level, maybe even become fully awakened. So we have our teacher to recollect, and he would be practicing what we call metta bhavana, or cultivating the thought of loving kindness in the morning. And that's something you can always reflect on as you begin your day. How did the Buddha begin his day? And similarly, monks and nuns since the time of the Buddha have devoted their lives to the practice of the Dhamma, and part of that involves going out to meet people, often at the time of receiving alms food. So in Thailand they have this phrase, brought sat. And brought in this sentence means to teach. Sat means beings, so to teach beings, to lead them, to guide them. So since the time of the Buddha, monks and nuns have been going out into the world to teach for the benefit of everyone, spreading the Dhamma out of goodwill and compassion and wisdom. But there's many ways that one can spread the Dhamma. So we can do it as a meditation like this, bringing up the thought of loving kindness, and then spreading that thought of kindness, goodwill out from us to the people around us, and indeed to all beings. Or we can put it into action. So when the Sangha come out to meet the laity, there'll be many occasions people see a monk or a nun, but they don't actually have an interaction as in conversation. It doesn't mean to say that the practice of metta is not being done. One can walk with metta. One can stand with metta, sit with metta. Even lying down, one can have metta in one's heart and be consciously developing it without a word being said. And sometimes to spread metta in silence is a very powerful practice, because the words can clutter our mind. They can sometimes confuse a situation or lead to misunderstanding or a lack of mindfulness. So sometimes a very powerful practice is just to spread metta from one's heart outwards, and one doesn't need to say a single word. So that may be to a specific person. And here you don't have to be a monk or a nun to do this. A lay person can also spread metta. Anyone with a human heart can do this. So you can think of somebody you may know who's suffering today, suffering from old age or sickness, or has some difficulty in their life, and consciously think of them, either now as you meditate, or you can make a plan to visit them, or you may know you're going to see them, so you plan to bring up metta for that person, a specific person. You think of them with goodwill, and think of what does that mean to have goodwill for that person. So we wish them good physical health. If they're ill, we wish them to feel better, to recover. If they're aging, then to have at least more strength and minimize the aches and pains and the difficulties of an aging body. If it's somebody with a particular problem, we can wish them to have the skills and the knowledge and the understanding to overcome their problem. Even if it's somebody who's behaving in a harmful way to themselves or to others, we can wish them to have the clarity to realize that they need to change and to try to change. Can wish for beings to encounter the Dhamma, hear the teachings, contemplate the teachings, understand the teachings of the Buddha that will help them free their minds from craving and attachment, find more peace, more clarity. Or maybe there's no particular person to think of, and you just develop the thought of metta, goodwill, and maintain that in your mind as an object of mind. Allowing it to condition your speech, your actions, and whoever you may meet, may they benefit from this metta. You wish them well. May they improve in their lives. May they find peace, understanding, success, good health. May they be free from distress, suffering. And you develop this thought, and off you go for your day. You finish your meditation, you get up and you go elsewhere, and you maintain that thought. But as you're meditating now, you paint the picture in your mind of what you'll do today with the mind of goodwill. Maybe you won't meet anyone at all, but you can have goodwill for yourself, the wish that you have good health, that you learn the Dhamma, free your mind from craving, practice the Dhamma. Or if you are to encounter people, then may you maintain this goodwill for them. So we say one lifts one's mind up to this object, the object of goodwill, the thought, the feeling. One sets it up in front of one. So wherever one goes today, one is as if led by the thought of goodwill. It doesn't mean that one won't be engaged in the world in different activities that require one's attention, physical exertion, mental exertion, but one is setting up goodwill ahead of one to help maintain a wholesome state of mind and to encounter whatever the world may bring one for the day. If one waits until there's a difficulty or a problem and one gets stressed and then sits down thinking, I better develop some goodwill now for myself or someone else, it's harder at that point when the mind has become stressed to pull it back to goodwill and to a state of mindfulness and wholesome awareness. Better to bring up the metta ahead of time. So it's already there in the mind from the morning, the beginning of the day, ready for whatever may arise. The difficulties that we encounter in our life, physical difficulties of doing things, being active and then getting tired, difficulties of if we are prone to illness, or aches and pains, difficulties of completing things that we need to do to earn our living or look after families or other people. The problems and difficulties of life will arise, but if we develop metta as an ongoing practice, it cushions the mind, the impact of the different situations and experiences we find arising through our day. So just as you might use a cushion to absorb impact of, say, a body, so like say your bed may be cushioned so you lie down and it absorbs the weight of your body. If you're developing metta, as you go through your day and you have different kinds of sense contact and different experiences, some of them may be more unpleasant. But you have metta as like this cushion to help you absorb the hardships of life, of being a human being, living in the world, earning a living, integrating with other people. You have a good base in your mind and also a softness to help absorb some of these difficulties. Like a good springy cushion, your mind can bounce back afterwards after absorbing the shock of the negative experience and doesn't easily hold on to the pain or discomfort of that negative experience, because it can return to goodwill. And that's not a state of denial or suppression, simply the practice of goodwill, bringing the mind back to a place of wholesomeness and skillfulness, even after being impacted by a negative experience. And one of the beautiful things about Sangha, living in Sangha, meeting Sangha all the time, is that Sangha are a group of people who are dedicated to this practice. So all the time you're witnessing smaller or greater examples of people being impacted with difficulty in their life, physical difficulty, difficulty of other people, situations, things going wrong, problems. But meeting those difficult situations with metta and not dwelling on them with aversion or ill will, not seeking retribution if somebody else is involved in bringing one hardship or difficulty, not holding a grudge, but letting go and returning to the thought of metta. But the way we practice metta can unfold in many, many different ways, in different situations. So sometimes we have what we call tough love. Maybe metta can be telling somebody something that they need to know, but is hard to say, hard to receive. Giving some instruction, warning them. Other times, metta is giving soothing words that soothe the mind, or reassure someone, or comfort them. Or other times it's beyond words and it's just the presence of metta in the mind. Say, for example, when somebody is sick in hospital or at home and they're not communicating much or not at all, one can still have a thought of metta for them, spread metta to that person. So today, we're beginning the day with a meditation on loving kindness. Can develop the thought of loving kindness first in this discursive way, thinking of the Buddha, the Sangha, teachers, thinking of your day, how you can bring up and maintain metta. In whatever way seems appropriate to you as you're reflecting on it. But having done this for a while, maybe change the object and bring the mind back to the breath. Settle the mental formations, the thinking process. Maybe just come back to being mindful of the breath, or staying with the object of goodwill as you wish. So for now I'll stop speaking, but we can carry on meditating together until you hear the sound of the bell.